More minutes and let's get started out of respect for everyone who showed up punctual. Again, thank you everyone for coming. My name is Aaron. Mrigank is on the other line. I run a blog called Mr-Stingy where I write about optimization, which includes, of course, money and Bitcoin being the future of money, I hope. I thought it was a great topic to have a guest webinar about, and I'm excited. And I pass the time to Mrigank a little in a while, but guys, again, feel free to chat and make friends. And this is actually where I do most of my writing. So if you follow me and you wonder where I write my blog and stuff, this is exactly where I do it, which is in my dining room. Yep. To Bongani, I definitely hope that it is the future of money. I don't think it is yet right now, but yeah, I hope it will be.
All right. So should we get started, Aaron?
Yep. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. Thank you.
Right.
And I guess I'm just going to turn off my screen, right?
Yeah, sure. And I'm going to share my screen because I have like a presentation ready for you guys. Just hold on. Yeah. Yes, seems to be right here. All right, guys. So here's the deck. Welcome to the webinar. Aaron, are you streaming this live on Facebook by any chance?
Nah, I'm not streaming this live on Facebook. Didn't get that many interested people on Facebook, so I thought we keep it to the Zoom.
Okay, cool. It's more private that way because then everybody can just ask their questions and get that settled.
Yep.
So nice, comfy group we've got going here. So, and you can see Aaron's promo code there as well. So if you've never bought Bitcoin before, log on to Luno and you can use Aaron's promo code. Every time, like the first time you buy some Bitcoin, you get like a free like 5 ringgits worth of Bitcoin free, because like when you buy 250 ringgits, you get buy or sell 250 ringgits, you get 5 ringgits free by using this promo code. And this is our website is www.luno.com, and our Facebook page and our Twitter page is Luno Money. Follow us there. So let's get started in this. All right. So what exactly is Bitcoin? That's a very common question that's asked, right? And lots of people, because it's called cryptocurrency, they think it's actually a currency. So what's very important to realize is that Bitcoin isn't just currency. Currency is just one application of it. It's a whole new type of technology, something that doesn't have a parallel from before, and which is based on trust. So the best way to call it is to call it a platform of trust, right? And let's go back a little into the history of money, and then we'll move on and you can understand Bitcoin a little more. So money is actually one of the oldest forms of communication used between human beings. All right. So it's how do we know that? It's because the oldest forms of writing that we found were actually ledgers, like accounting ledgers of people having tabs of their money. So over time, money evolved based on our needs. So earlier, people would just have a barter system. Then they traded stones between each other. Soon, gold was recognized, and people started using gold coins or gold tablets as a form of money to exchange goods, right? Because like stones obviously got a little inconvenient, and as people got closer between countries, etc. Then slowly but surely, plastic money came about, and banks came about, and regulators came about who protect your plastic money, which became paper money then. And now with Bitcoin, you see a whole new type of money called decentralized money. So what does this mean? So basically, Bitcoin is a platform which is going to lead to a lot of disruption of the traditional banking system. So a traditional bank stores your money or stores a person's money because of which there is a lot of regulation around it. Whereas Bitcoin, due to its technology, is trustless or permissionless. It doesn't depend on a central person, and that leads to rapid innovation. And like it'll change the way banking happens in a few years. It'll change the way value is transferred from one person to another. So just as an example, today you can call a cab with your mobile phone at the press of a button. You can order anything you want online, but when it comes to money, transferring money between countries, you still have to wait a day or two, right? This shouldn't be the case. And that's where Bitcoin comes in, or the innovation associated with Bitcoin comes in. So these are the three words. These are the three reasons people use Bitcoin. So that's like it's decentralized. There's no central body that governs it. It's permissionless. Since there's no central body, there is no like governing body that controls it. You don't need anyone's permission to run on the Bitcoin or carry out something on the Bitcoin. And due to its core technology, which I'll get into detail about more later, it's highly secure. All right. So let's move to the next slide. All right. So I'm sure all of you would have heard of Bitcoin, and these days, everywhere everyone's talking about it, right? So this is the Bitcoin price chart of just a year. Okay. So last year around October, it was at something like $608. One Bitcoin was around $608. And then it went up. Like by Jan, it was $1,000. By June, it was $3,000. And then suddenly, like in the middle of July sometime, it went down to $2,000 again. That's a big dip. And now it's gone all the way up again. So now everybody's talking about it. So because of Bitcoin's like rise and fall, it's gained immense popularity these days as an investment. Like it's become a very high performing investment, and that's why people are interested in it. But what's very important to realize is that like Bitcoin is also a volatile investment. The price goes up and down. So if you've invested in Bitcoin, you have to know the risks, and you've got to put in your research behind it. This presentation is meant to be a short introduction so that you get a flavor of it. But I highly encourage that you go back and read a lot more about Bitcoin before you get into it. So one of the applications of Bitcoin is that it is a store of value. All right. So gold is a store of value, right? Why do people use gold and they don't use something like iron to store their money in, right? It's because gold is scarce, like gold is limited in supply, and B, it's stable. Iron can corrode, but gold does not, right? And this is actually true for Bitcoin as well. There's a limited supply of Bitcoins, and its technology makes it very stable. In fact, one advantage it has over gold is that it can be broken into very, very small units, 10 raised to the power minus 8 Bitcoin. Like a lot of people see that the price is around $4,000 or higher, right? So they're afraid, oh, I can't afford one full Bitcoin. But you can actually just buy 100 ringgits worth of Bitcoin. Like because in fact, you can buy much, much less. Like the lowest amount that your bank will allow you to transfer is the amount you can probably buy Bitcoin in. So moving on. Another core aspect, okay, this is one of the more complicated aspects of Bitcoin, is that like, okay, Bitcoin is a decentralized peer-to-peer payment network, right? What does that mean, right? So when you go to a bank, if I go to a bank and I want to pay Aaron, I make a bank transfer to Aaron, right? So what the bank does is it cuts money from my account, gives Aaron some money, and puts this down in something called a ledger. So they put it down in a notebook somewhere, a computerized file now, but and they keep record of it. But because the bank does this for you, these records stay with a central body, and they charge you a fee for it as well. When you make a bank transfer from one country to another, they charge you a very high fee for it as well. But what happens in Bitcoin basically is that there are a lot of these computers connected to something called the Bitcoin network. And every time there's a transaction, all of these computers get like a copy of the transaction that's taken place. So instead of the transaction being stored with one body, it's actually stored with all these people here. Jody, Liza, Carl, Gio, all of them have a copy of it. So how does that work, right? I'm sure you're a little confused, but let me go into that more a little later. But because of this, like because of the fact that it's distributed, there's no central body that controls it, right? And that reduces fees required for it. And also because of the fact that the ledgers are distributed. This is a term that will come across very often. Because the ledgers are distributed, you will very often, like the Bitcoin network is very secure. Now, like these nodes, these computers connected to the Bitcoin network, they work because of something called miners. I'll get into more details very briefly about it, but this is something you want to do some extra reading on later rather than get involved with the complications. All right, so now the easy part and the most interesting part, right? How is the price of Bitcoin determined? So lots of people keep asking me this, and I'm sure you're wondering too, right? Like the one Bitcoin is $4,000 somewhere. Google says something else. It's something else on Luno, and if you look at an American exchange, it's something else. So the price of Bitcoin is determined just like the price of anything else is determined by demand and supply. Okay, just like the price of stocks on an exchange is determined. If there are both buyers and sellers, and wherever most buyers and sellers agree to make the exchange is what the price of an item is. All right, and that's how it works with stocks, right? So suppose a stock gets really popular and there are more buyers than sellers, then the price of the stock goes up. And suppose a stock becomes unpopular and there are less sellers, the price of it goes down. And each of these Bitcoin exchanges, Luno is also a Bitcoin exchange, has buyers and sellers, and the price keeps varying with them. So just like with oranges, depending on the market you go to, the price could be different, right? A particular market might sell them for a higher price, a particular market might sell them for a lower price. So that's how Bitcoin's price is determined. Now, where did Bitcoin come from? So Bitcoin's inventor chose to keep himself anonymous, and basically he uses the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. But there are a bunch of core developers, these guys here, who are responsible for day-to-day innovations with respect to Bitcoin. But truly speaking, like Bitcoin belongs to everyone. So when you need like a major step in terms of changing the technology, it needs approval from a large share of people. It's that way, it's very democratic in terms of the technology. Now, getting back to mining, remember the distributed ledgers that we spoke about? So how that's done is that miners actually put blocks of transactions together. Okay, each of those computers were a miner who received transactions, and then every time they have a bunch of transactions in one block, every 10 minutes, one particular miner publishes a block. Okay, and some Bitcoin is generated, and that's what the miner gets for his work. I'm not going to get into the technicalities of this again, but basically what happens is that it's something of a lottery. Okay, there are multiple miners who publish a block, but because the technology they use, one of the blocks gets through, and then it's one after the other. There are like 3 blocks. The first block is published, then the second block is published, and the third block is published by miners. And this is basically what the blockchain is. So each of them have about 10 minutes worth of verified transactions, but I'm quickly going to run through this because this is something you'll have to read up and absorb later. So, all right. So now something that you'd actually be interested in getting started. How do you buy Bitcoin, right? So how do you buy Bitcoin on Luno? It's very simple. First, you have to just sign up, and this is the web page of our account. So you sign up on Luno, go to settings, fill in all your details, your name, your phone number, verify your email, and then you've got to do something called a KYC, all right? So what a KYC basically is that you submit photos. There's a level 1, there's a level 2, there's a level 3. So level 1 is when you include your ID number, you're promoted to level 1, and you can buy a certain amount of Bitcoin. If you want to buy more, then you have to take a picture of your identity card and submit it to us. Once it gets checked by us, then you get promoted to level 2. And if you want to buy even more, right? If you want to make like transactions of 300,000 ringgits, or 200,000 ringgits per month. Then you've got to submit your proof of residence. You've got to submit a picture of a bank statement or a utility bill that is within 3 months to get verified to level 3. And one important thing to note is that you can get started on buying a little Bitcoin at level 1 itself after you've entered your ID number. You don't need to wait till level 3 to buy it. As soon as you hit level 1, you can buy a certain amount, then level 2, then level 3. So yeah, and then like how to buy it on the app is very simple. You just click on the buy button. Then you have to do something called deposit money onto our account, right? You get this screen on your mobile app. You click on fund account. You're given our bank account details. If you want to deposit 50 ringgits, and you're also given a reference number, this particular number. Make sure you enter your reference number in both the reference field, the recipient reference field, as well as other payment details. A lot of customers face delays because they only input the reference number once, or they forget the reference number or input it incorrectly. It's very important that you enter your reference number twice, all right? Then it reflects on our end and our system automatically. Otherwise, we have to like go and manually allocate your deposit, which takes time. Right, so you've got to remember this. And after that, you click on buy. Like once there's money in your Luno account, then you just click on buy, input the amount of Bitcoin you want to buy, and you're given like the conversion rate, and you can just go ahead and buy it. It's as simple as that, right? Click on buy, deposit money, and then just go ahead and buy it. Now, going back a little more to the theory. So with Bitcoins and Bitcoin wallets, you have something called a public key and a private key. So when you store your Bitcoin with us, we have the private keys. The private keys are more like the keys to your locker or something. So we take care of those private keys. We give you a password for your account, but we take care of your private keys and transfer your Bitcoin when you need it to be transferred. So this keeps it safe. But the public key is more like an email address. You can just go to your account and see your public key. If you want someone to send you Bitcoin, you tell them your public key, and when they want to send Bitcoin, they send it to that public key. It's very similar to an email address. And how do you store your Bitcoin? So one way is to store it with Luno, which is a Bitcoin wallet as well. So you store it online and we handle your private keys. Something to remember there is, for greater security, you should enable two-factor authentication. So read about it on our website. We've got a very good help center where you can check it out. And apart from that, if you want to keep it even more secure, you can get one of these hardware wallets, which is like a pen drive. So you plug it into your computer and you transfer your Bitcoin there, and then your Bitcoin's address or private keys get stored on this particular device or on this piece of paper. So this is also a secure way of storing Bitcoin, but you must remember that if you lose your hardware wallet or your paper wallet, all your Bitcoins will be lost. You've got to keep them very carefully. And how do you send Bitcoin? Again, on our app, go to more. So you can either, if the other person has a Luno email ID, like Luno account with a registered email ID, you can send it to their email, or you can send it to their Bitcoin address. That's the public key, which they'll have. Every account has a public key, and you can send them the Bitcoin. And now this is a very important part, the risks associated with Bitcoin. All right. So I showed you the price chart before, and there are lots of people or lots of stories about how people have bought Bitcoin and made money. But you shouldn't get, carried away with that. It's very important to remember that Bitcoin is a volatile instrument. The price can go up or can go down, and nobody knows which way it's going to go, right? So one way of buying Bitcoin is to buy a fixed amount, say like 1,000 ringgits every month. That way you buy like a fixed amount and you're not that sensitive to the price fluctuations. Now, a couple of things you need to keep in mind. Once you've made a Bitcoin transaction, once you've sent Bitcoin to someone, it cannot be reversed, right? Because it goes to some other Bitcoin wallet. And unless that person wants to send it back to you, this transaction cannot be reversed. You need to remember that. And also, just like I mentioned before, right, there's a hardware wallet. So if you lose your hardware wallet, your Bitcoins will be lost. There's no way to get them back. And especially in Malaysia, there are a lot of people running Ponzi's and scams, okay, with both Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it's very important to remember that if somebody promises you returns, they say that we assure you that there's going to be 20% return on Bitcoin. That's probably a lie, and it's something you should be wary of. Even when you choose an exchange, you should do a little research on who the investors are, like if they're reputed investors for that exchange, and if the founders are reputed people who have, like, say, experience in known fields. That's also very important for you to remember. Like, so always look at the founders of a company as well as the investors in a company, and all this is available in the public domain. That's how you find a reliable exchange, and see how long it's been around, or see if you can get some referrals for it. So that's the end of the typical presentation. Another reminder, so if this is your first time buying Bitcoin, use this promo code and you can get some Bitcoin free once you buy 250 ringgits worth of Bitcoin. And just two new phenomenon that have come across. I'm quickly going to go through them, not much in detail. So there's something called Bitcoin Cash that's come about. So there's a big debate going on in the Bitcoin world right now. Like, Bitcoin transactions happen slowly now. They're getting clogged up because of the technology. So some improvements to the technology are being, like, experimented with. But since there's no single owner, recently Bitcoin split up into Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. So Bitcoin Cash is just another type, which is based on a slightly different, like, improved technology, and that enables faster transactions. That's the core principle why they decided to split up from Bitcoin. They want to change the technology a little for faster transactions. So if you had possessed Bitcoin before the split, you would get an equal amount of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. However, Luno does not support buying of Bitcoin Cash right now. So if you want to get into it right now, you're probably going to have to find an exchange which sells Bitcoin Cash. And the next thing is Ethereum. You've heard a lot about Ethereum, right? Most of you must have by now. It's also come in mainstream media by now. And how is it different from Bitcoin? So there are a couple of main differences. One is that like, Bitcoin is treated more as a store of value or for monetary transactions, whereas Ethereum is used more for some, like, blockchain technology applications, or something called smart contracts, where computerized contracts run without a central body. So that's what Ethereum is based. Its specialty is like that. Now, technically, you can do everything Bitcoin can do with Ethereum as well, but Bitcoin has been around for longer, and there's a limited supply for it. Like, when there's a limited supply of something, it's generally a good store of value. It's deflationary, if you would understand what that is. Whereas there's an unlimited amount of Ethereum that is generated. So yeah, I think I've given you a little taste of most of the crypto world and a lot of concepts around Bitcoin and crypto. Now, the next steps for you is probably just to go and read up a lot more before you decide to put your money in Bitcoin or Ethereum. Cool. So let's quickly jump to the Q&As. So I see a lot of you guys have Q&As. So I'm just quickly gonna stop my screen share and start on the Q&As. Yeah.
All right. Rigang,
yeah.
Is there a way to show the Q&A to everyone, because some of them might not be able to see it?
Right. So I could probably read out the question. There is a way to show the Q&A, of course.
Okay.
But like, I can just share my screen, but I'd rather just read it out. So what is the reason Bitcoin supply is limited to 21 million only? So one major reason is probably because the person who invented that's actually a very good question, but it's because of how the technology works. Right now, every year Bitcoin is generated because miners publish more transactions on the Bitcoin network, and they get paid in newly created Bitcoin. Now, it is expected every 4 years, this amount of Bitcoin that is paid to miners halves. So that's why it's going to go down to 0 in the future, and it'll depend on transaction fees then. And probably the reason the inventor of Bitcoin did this is because when something is limited in supply, it is a better store of value, just like gold, right? Whereas imagine something like Zimbabwe, right, where the government just prints an unlimited amount of money. So then 1 trillion Zimbabwean currency is worth barely a dollar, though, like because of inflation. So to avoid inflation, or to ensure that Bitcoin doesn't bloat up, there's a limited supply of it. And by selling Bitcoin on the Luno exchange, this Luno charges the 1% on the entire transaction value. So the fees depends. The fees keeps varying. I'm just going to show you where online you can go to check what the fees are. So you go to luno.com and you go to fees and features, right? Can you guys see my screen? Wait, it's not shared. Right? Let me just go back and share it. So yeah, you go to luno.com and you go to fees and features, and this is where you get details of like all the countries. So there should be Malaysia somewhere here. So right here, and you get the fee details, you get the deposit fees, the trade fees, the limits of level 1, level 2, level 3. We in case you want to learn about Bitcoin, we also have something called a learning portal. So again, on the Luno website. So this answers a lot of questions. Where did Bitcoin come from? How is the price calculated? What are the risks with Bitcoin? And in case you have a doubt with Luno, so the best way, the quickest way to find an answer is also to go to our help center, where we've like literally listed down most of the questions you could have. How long until my deposit shows? How do I deposit money? And there are different categories and everything around that. Okay, going back to the Q&As.
Yeah, I think to combine a few questions, Mrigank, a few people are asking if Ethereum is going to be sold and traded on Luno in the near future. So I think that's 3 or 4 people have asked the same question.
Yeah, so we definitely think Ethereum has a lot of value, and although like we haven't revealed anything about it, but we're definitely thinking about the possibility of having more cryptocurrencies on Luno's platform in the future.
Right.
Right.
So if I could give my 2 cents here, if you're interested in other cryptocurrencies, the way to do it right now is to buy Bitcoin first and then change it into another cryptocurrency using a different exchange. Like you can't do it on Luno yet, but perhaps in the near future we can hope for that.
Yeah, exactly. So right now what you would do is you'd buy Bitcoin, transfer it to another exchange in the US to whom it's difficult to do a bank transfer to, and then exchange that Bitcoin for other cryptocurrencies, other altcoins.
Right. So yeah, one of the questions that came in from James, after I've bought Bitcoin, how do I take out money from it? Mrigank, maybe you could share a little bit on that.
Yeah, sure. So after you've bought Bitcoin, let's take an example. You've bought it for 100 ringgits, like bought that many Bitcoin, and then 6 months down the line, it's worth 500 ringgits. What you do is you sell the Bitcoin, right? And then you get the same amount of like money, whatever the value is, then transferred in your Luno account, and you have to click something called a withdraw. So once you do something called a withdraw, that money is transferred back to your account. So to get money from Bitcoin, you have to sell the Bitcoin back. And you said Bitcoin is decentralized where no government is needed. So why do we need Luno? So technically, there are ways for you to buy Bitcoin without Luno, but Luno is more like a bank. You store your Bitcoin with us because it's easier. You don't need to know the technical details of buying Bitcoin or downloading your own wallet on your computer, because we help you do it. So it's more of an enabler, more like how like you use a car instead of walking for convenience. So Luno is something like that. It'll just make the process faster and easier for you. That's our objective as well. And when can we expect Luno to be an exchange? All right. Then
okay. Yeah, I guess from the from a compliance perspective, maybe I can try to answer a little bit. I've read Bank Negara came out with a statement in I think 2014 that Bitcoin itself is not recognized as currency, but that does not mean that it is also illegal. So it's something that Bank Negara kind of doesn't have a black or white, this is good or this is bad. They're kind of taking a hands-off approach. That's the extent of what I've read, but maybe Mrigank, you have some further opinion on that.
Right. So, so guys, a couple of years ago, the scenario was that, like compared to say forex trading or stocks trading, the volume of Bitcoin trading was much lesser, right? It was insignificant as compared to these big chunks. So, what most regulators did is that they said that they're studying Bitcoin, and the technology is still changing and it's still small. So right now they're not going to make a comment on it. They're just going to wait and watch. So I think that's the stance with a lot of regulators. But in certain markets like the United States and the Japan, where the volumes have become really high of Bitcoin trading or other cryptos, governments have literally stepped in, and they've said that they're going to regulate it. They've come up with clear licenses for it. Even in Philippines, they've come up with a license for Bitcoin. So similarly, in the future, Bank Negara might choose to do that. But right now, they have not expressed an opinion on it. Just said that it's not a currency, not a currency that they vouch for, which is true. It isn't, right? So and they've not given any opinion on it in terms of what they think about it. So yeah, I think that's
maybe I'll take a question from Jasmine Tan. She says, can we store our own private keys? So if you guys leave your Bitcoin on Luno, that means Luno has a copy of the private keys. But if you choose to transfer it out to your own wallet, which you can either use a paper wallet or a hardware wallet or a wallet of your own choice, you get to store your own private keys. So it's a question of whether you want convenience or higher security. So it's kind of a trade-off there. But yes, absolutely, you can store your own private keys and store it so that no one will ever have a chance to hack you. And that's why Bitcoin itself is so secure.
So I think Luno no longer has your private keys then. It's basically once you use a hardware wallet, then the hardware wallet has your private keys. So we don't have your money either. So we don't have control of it. I think that was one of the questions that was asked as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point that a lot of people say that Bitcoin exchanges have been hacked before. And the key thing here is that the technology behind Bitcoin itself has never been hacked. Exchanges, some exchanges have lost private keys before, and in that way, hackers have stolen money. But the technology behind it, up to today, no one has actually hacked it. So that might help solve some security concerns there.
Right, exactly. Like he said, the Bitcoin has never been hacked. Now, obviously, some Bitcoin exchanges have been hacked. And one way to avoid any sort of hack, of course, it's a major deterrent, is to enable two-factor authentication on your phone. Very often hacks happen because you get a fake email and you click on that and they get some of your details because of that, and they actually go into your account and transfer it out. So when you enable 2FA, you get a code on your phone which you have to enter every time you log in, and that keeps it more secure. Right.
Yeah, maybe an interesting question from Brian. Why does the creator of Bitcoin want to be anonymous? I sense he wants to deceive us into the system and get us all trapped. I highly doubt Satoshi is a Japanese. They just use the name to deceive that he's a Japanese. What's your 2 cents?
So I think it's because the inventor knew how powerful this technology was, right? And and it does have a lot of impact in terms of society. It does have the potential, to in some ways challenge regulators as well. So I think to avoid all those complications, Like there's nothing the government can do against Bitcoin because it's a technology that's not governed by a central body anymore, right? So it's across like a bunch of computers across the world, everyone who's connected to the Bitcoin network. Even you can connect to the Bitcoin network with your computer or your phone. So, but if he would have given away his name, then any sort of experimentation phase, he would have been the one who would have been caught by the government or by the regulators, and there would have been a lot many more complications. So it's probably the smart way of bringing about a technology as game changing as Bitcoin was to stay anonymous.
Yeah, I think one of Brian's concerns was can Satoshi deceive us and perhaps hack the system at one future time? So to me, that would be impossible because you basically need 51% of the network to actually take over the system, the Bitcoin system, and everything is public. So all transactions are public. In that sense, it's impossible to have fraud. And I don't think Satoshi, even being the creator of it, he actually has the power to hack everyone. The other thing is Bitcoin software itself is open source, so everyone can actually look at it and basically see that there's no like Trojan horse to steal your money by someone.
Right. All right. So Aaron,
Yep.
should we, I think you answered like a whole bunch of questions. Guys, if you have any more questions, just like feel free to read up. A lot of those answers are already on the internet, or like check out our Luno website. Most of your answers will be on the website or on the internet. And should we wrap up the webinar now, Aaron?
Yeah, maybe for I guess Mrigang has got to go, but
yeah,
I guess for these questions, maybe I can log these questions, and I'll check this offline with you, Mrigang, and I'll send these out to the people who are involved. Would that be okay?
Right. Yes. Sure.
We don't have time to answer everyone's questions. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'm really sorry, guys, but it was great that you guys turned up and that we had such an active participation. Which is apparent from the question answers. Everybody's pretty active there and asking for questions. And so, guys, Aaron's gonna keep like a copy of these questions, and he's gonna make sure that these questions are answered, and you receive a copy of it.
Right. Everyone, you've got everyone's like email address, right, Mrigang?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'll compile this. I'll answer it. I'll make sure that you're okay with it, and I'll send it back, and we'll send it back to everyone, so that everyone's questions are answered.
All right. Great. Yeah, that's a great initiative. In fact, we should have done it for some of our webinars before as well. But all right, great, guys. So you're also going to receive an email with all these answers. Actually, we're going to do that. Yeah. Okay. Great then. So, Aaron, do you want to just wrap it up?
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. And again, I guess we ran out of time. We didn't realize how strong the interest was. But yeah, I'll make sure that we answer every question. Every question might not be the perfect answer you're looking for, but we will answer every question. I would say thank you to Mrigang. We definitely appreciate having you. I think we really want guidance on such new technology. So thank you very much, Luno. Thank you very much, Mrigang, and thank you everyone for coming.
Yep. Right, and thanks, Aaron, for organizing this. It's great to see such interest. Like Malaysia is one of Luno's favorite countries. Like that's where like people have been going crazy about Bitcoin this last couple of days. So it was great doing this presentation. And yeah, look forward to seeing you guys on Luno, and we shall make sure we answer all your questions. All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.